Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are back with the latest edition of Man and Nature, and this program is produced by Batrisha Afrina, and for the next half an hour, I'll be your host. My name is Shaikh Mamat Saifuddeen with Shaikh Mamat Salleh. We have another interesting topic to be discussed this week, and to do so, I'm very fortunate to be joined by a special guest. In the studio with us is Dr. Noorhidayah Mamat, Senior Lecturer and also Coordinator, Ecology and Biodiversity Programme from the Institute of Biological Sciences, Faculty of Science, Universiti Malaya. She will be sharing with us her viewpoints on the topic, the present and future of insect biodiversity. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Noorhidayah.
Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Shaikh.
Welcome to Man and Nature.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting
on this program this
sure.
week.
Thank you.
Dr. Hidayah, before we proceed with our discussion, I think some of our listeners would like to know, since we are going to talk about insects, I understand that your PhD was on insects, and scientists actually refer to the insect world as entomofauna. And most certainly insects make up a fascinating world for us to study. Perhaps before we begin our discussion, could you share with us how is it that you got to be interested with insects?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Shaikh, for inviting me to the IKIM FM. So basically, Assalamualaikum. So regarding your questions regarding how I start to be expertise in entomology, insects. So basically, honestly, it started after my degree. So during my final year project, so basically I'm doing on fish, the stomach content of fish. But fortunately, after my degree, my supervisor, my former supervisor and co-supervisor, just to be... today is actually the Dean of Faculty of Science. That one is my co-supervisor, and my supervisor during that time is Professor Dr. Noorhidayah Yusof. So they are actually inviting me to do this kind of joining like program. So basically during that time, I'm from the Ecology and Biodiversity Programme, and the co-supervisor is basically from the molecular part. So we are trying, during that time, we are trying to combine the ecology study and also biodiversity study of insects with the molecular DNA part. So during that time, they offer me to do on dragonflies, and so I pursue my master in dragonflies, and also I feel that study on dragonflies, during that time DNA barcoding, so it's actually some sort of new opportunity to explore regarding the insects world. So I pursue my study on PhD, but I expand my study on dragonflies, on the biomaterials, the taxonomy, and also behavior of the dragonflies. So basically that is how I started to be in love with the insects world.
Okay. That's interesting, and I'm sure perhaps we have listeners out there who are also interested with insects. Okay, Doctor, moving on to our discussion. As I said, our topic is the present and future of insect biodiversity. Could you provide us with an overview of why insect biodiversity is important for the environment, and how would you describe the role of insects in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the interesting questions, actually regarding the how is actually the importance of insects towards the environment. So before that, people, when we're talking about animals and also environment, so people will always think about the big animals, big mammals and so on. But it less people out there knows that the very tiny, small group of insects basically also contribute to the sustainability of the environment and so on. And they are also the group of animals that plays then important roles to the sustainability of our environment. Okay, so basically when we talk about the importance of insects towards this environment, so basically we can talk about the ecosystem functioning, how they are their roles as the ecosystem functionings. So they are basically, it contributes to the as the pollinators. They also contribute to the we can call it as the decompositions of the soils, So when we talk about the pollination, decomposition, they are also have the roles in nutrient cycling, and also the presence and absence of these certain groups of insects. They also can be indicator towards the health of the ecosystem. So basically, that is actually the general overview about the importance of insects towards the environment.
Okay, so basically they are pollinating agents. They are also involved in decomposition.
Yes.
They are part of the nutrient cycle.
Yeah.
And they are also indicators for health, for the health of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and not to forget that they are also can be the biological control towards the other pests.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what measures that we can take in order to conserve and protect insect biodiversity? Because I've been reading some articles in journals that say that some insects are facing the risk of extinction. What can be done to address threats and to ensure that conservation of insects can take place so that their population can be preserved?
Yeah. Okay, when we talk about the threats, basically not only the big animals that facing these threats. Okay, the insects also, they are facing this kind of threats. Okay, so when we talk about how we can address this, these threats towards to conserve, to make sure the conservations of this group of animals. So basically, we need to do the habitat conservations. Okay, so habitat conservation is very important, not only for insects, but also other plants and also animals. So habitat conservation is basically, we are talking about the protecting and also the restorations of the natural habitats. Okay, that include forest area, grassland, wetlands, and also other protected areas. We are also, as stakeholders, government agencies, and also other NGOs, we are actually we can coordinate to establish the protected area for the wildlife, and also we also can provide the green spaces in order to maintain the habitats for the insects. And also we can talk about the sustainable of land management. Okay, besides we are only talk about the habitat conservation in order to maintain the population of the insects. So basically, we are also need to sustain the land management, how we manage the land. So this is basically, for example, the agroforestry. Okay, we talk about the agroforestry, the organic farming, and also the integrated landscape management. All of this is basically can help to minimize the decreasing populations of insects and also other animals, of course.
Okay. Now, when we speak about insects, for many people, they will name insects such as cockroaches, mosquitoes, ants, because they see these insects in their homes.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the ecosystem balance, perhaps you can share with our listeners specific examples of insects that play key roles in ensuring that the ecosystem is maintained and in a balanced order.
Yeah. Okay. Normal people, or we talk about the public people, normally they are calling insects as like cockroach, but we also have the classifications of the insects. So we'll talk about the examples. Okay, I like to share with all of you guys my expertise, which is regarding the dragonflies. Okay, so dragonflies basically under the order of Odonata. So under the order of Odonata, we have two, Anisoptera and also Zygoptera. So Anisoptera basically, in a layman, people would say as the dragonflies, and Zygoptera is basically referring to the damselflies, the body slanted odonate, right? So dragonflies basically, they play a very major crucial roles in maintaining the ecosystems, right? Okay, I would say that the names of the dragonflies, they are aquatic insects. So basically, they are the habitats, of course, in the rivers, pond, and so on. So they can be the predators towards other aquatic insects, including the mosquito larvae. So basically, we can say that the larvae dragonflies, they can control the populations of larvae mosquito before it can emerge into adult mosquitoes. So, and also when we talk about the dragonflies itself, larvae dragonflies eat the larvae mosquito. So the adult dragonflies also can be a predators towards the adult of mosquito. So because the mosquito is basically the food for the dragonfly, one of the food for the dragonflies. Okay, so in this kind, we can call it as a biological control or natural pest control. So beside this biological control, dragonflies can be a biological control towards other insects. They are also as a health indicator towards environment. I would like to share to all of you guys regarding my current research, basically on the how we want to study about the effects of ecotourism, okay, in the forestal park, which is using the insects populations and also, of course, the water quality assessment. But when we talk about the insect population, is basically we are focusing on the dragonflies, because the presence and absence of the dragonflies, it can indicate whether the rivers or the water quality is in a good health or not. So we have certain dragonflies that can be very sensitive towards certain quality of the water. So the present and absence of the dragonflies, it can be indicator, easy indicator, the first indicator towards either that particular habitats in the good health or not in a good condition.
So if I see a dragonfly flying in front of my home, that's a good indicator.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. We learned something new today. So I think so for our listeners, if you have dragonflies flying around in your garden, then that's a good sign actually.
Yeah, basically it can control also the populations of the mosquitoes.
So that helps in fighting
the Aedes disease and so on.
That's right. Doctor, looking to the future, how do you envision the role of technology and innovation when addressing issues related to insect biodiversity?
Okay, so looking this future, how do we as a researchers, right, and also as a scientist, how we envision the role of technology and also innovations when we are addressing the issues of related to the insects biodiversity. So basically, the first study is actually I want to address about the DNA barcoding, or nowadays it's more into metagenomics. Okay, metagenomics. Okay. So DNA barcoding and also metagenomic sequence techniques, basically a new techniques for a rapid and accurate identifications. Okay. Basically, previously during my master and also PhD, we are actually combining how you want to identify that particular species or individuals using the traditional methods. So traditional method, basically the taxonomy, the characteristics of the insects, but then we are combining into DNA barcoding or metagenomics. So using these new techniques, so basically it can give us or allow us for a rapid and also accurate identifications for certain habitats and also certain population in that area.
If somebody is interested to study about insects at the university level, what would be your advice to them?
All right. The first of all, when I talk about the insects, is actually insects a very diverse group, of animals. Okay, when comparing the Animalia, so insects are under the category of Hexapoda. So Hexapoda can cover for about 70% of animals, from the total of animals. So the first one is actually you need to know what is actually the current issues about the insects. What is actually the problem statement that you want to try to solve? Okay, for example, if in the certain area they are actually have the disease that infected by any insects, so that is actually where your responsibility to study about that particular insects. So basically, we need to know actually what is actually the main problem that we want to address to.
Are there many people doing research on insects in Malaysia, to your knowledge?
Yeah, we have certain groups that that study on insects, but not much as other vertebrates, other big mammals, and so on. Yeah.
Why do you think that's the case? Why do we have more researchers in this area?
Okay, because in my own opinion, right? So basically, when we talk about animals, when you talk about the sustainability of the environment and so on, maybe public out there will always think about the big mammals, big animals that give that they are thinking of these big animals plays more important roles rather than very tiny, a group of animals. So this group of animal insect is very small, very tiny, have a very small bodies. So they think that this small group of animals, they don't have much importance rather than big animals. So that is why if the first one they want to study about the animals, or they want to in field of zoology, they will think about the big animal first, or the big mammals, vertebrate and so on, not particularly to the small group of animals, insects.
Okay, you mentioned earlier on that insects play an important role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And definitely each one of us have a role to play in ensuring that we maintain the balance of the ecosystem, including making sure that insects do not become extinct. So in your opinion, as an academic, what is the best way for us to provide awareness, give awareness to the public, to ensure that we look after the ecosystem, including that of insects? Because you said earlier, people tend to, I'm not sure whether this is the right word, tend to ignore the existence of insects because they are small.
Yeah,
and yet they play a very prominent role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we need to increase awareness to the public.
Yeah.
So what do you think should we do in terms of creating awareness, making sure that we play our role in ensuring that we look after insects as well?
Okay, so basically the create awareness or a program, is very important, and actually it is our roles, to enhance the knowledge, to expose about the public about these insects. So basically, what I'm doing currently during my community grant, not the research grant but community grant. So normally we are doing some sort of awareness program towards the first step is towards the not the kindergarten, the primary school students.
Okay.
So basically we go, for example, last year we go to the Jelebu, Gelemi, our research center there. So we're doing some sort of aquatic insects. So what is actually, they know that in their habitats they have the rivers, ponds and so on, but they didn't know that what is actually, beside fish, what is actually the animals that live in that particular habitat, rivers or ponds, for example. So we teach them how to collect the insects, and also we create the awareness, like, okay, this kind of aquatic insects, they play that important roles in order in the for example, such as in the food web. They can be the predators towards other smaller insects, or also they can be a prey, as for other animals. So we create that awareness that, all right, okay, this kind of habitats beside have the fish, tadpoles, and so on. These tiny aquatic insects also play the important roles to sustain the quality of your rivers, to sustain the quality of your ponds and so on. So creating awareness is basically our main, not really our main role, but it's actually part of our roles to educate public about the importance of the insects. Even though it's a very tiny animals, but they are also have their, main roles towards the sustainability of the ecosystem.
Right. I like what you said about involving very young children at the primary school age.
Yeah.
Because I think when they are involved hands-on, their knowledge and also appreciation towards the natural world is higher compared to, say, just giving a lecture.
Yeah, the theory one.
So I think that's one of the challenges that we are facing today when it comes to the new generation. They are so much glued to the gadgets. Probably they learn about insects through what they see on social media, for example. But when you bring them outside and see for themselves, I think that will bring a certain amount of wonder towards them. So that is for the primary school children. What about those who are slightly older?
All right. So when we are facing the secondary school students, normally we are exposure them towards more scientifically methods. For the children, for examples, we just dig out the sands from the water. Then we just separate all the insects or microinvertebrates from the water and try to identify. But when we are facing the secondary school, for examples, right, we are trying to expose them with the scientifically method. For example, we are exposing them using the microscope. Okay, the microscope. Then they can they can observe the specimen under microscope, but we trying to expose them with the main characteristic. And also expose them using the scientific name for that particular characteristic of the animals, and also we are trying also to expose them with other methods. For example, we are using the what you call for the water analysis, right? So we actually giving them the opportunity that higher level. So we have this kind. So for the secondary school students, so they have to think, they have to analyze. Okay, in a proper way. We of course we can teach them. We also can guide them, but more scientifically. So they know that, all right, okay, even though they are surrounded by the animals, surrounded by the insects, but they are also know how to have a better study towards that particular creatures.
When we were discussing before we start our program, you mentioned that you actually go for expeditions into forests to collect specimens. Perhaps you can share some of your interesting experience in doing so.
All right. So, to be honest, last expeditions I've joined in the Panti Johor, end of 2022. So basically, during that expedition is a very meaningful and also knowledgeable expeditions. So there is actually 5 days of expeditions and 3 days of data collections. So during the 3 days, we are going to the forested area in the Gunung Panti, Johor Selatan. So we are going there to collect. For my expertise, I collect the dragonflies. Okay, so I also relate them with the water quality that at the particular area. Okay, we are collect the parameters and also we are also joining them with the diversity of the dragonflies, because the present episode of the dragonflies it indicate the health of the environment. Okay, so we are also comparing with the previous study, okay, which is the last one, if I'm not mistaken, 2009. So we are comparing that we have a new, describe a new species, but a new finding of dragonflies, and also certain dragonflies that absent from the previous checklist. So from that we can analyze either that particular area is still in the good health or not. And during that expedition also, we actually mingle out with several and more groups of other scientists, other researchers. So at the end of the expeditions, we have some sort of conference. So that is where we are actually sharing our knowledge, our finding towards others. So from that particular conference, even though we talk about there is an expedition, we just collecting, just go inside the forest and so on, but the outcome that we are going into the forest, actually the outcome of the expedition is basically we can know much knowledge regarding other plants groups, other herpetologist groups, other mammalians group and so on. So basically, even though it's called an expedition, it's actually the combining of all knowledge into flora and fauna field and so on.
That's interesting because that is basically the core of biodiversity.
Yeah.
Dr. Noorhidayah, perhaps to conclude, what message would you like to convey to our audience regarding the importance of insect biodiversity?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I would like to give the exposure to the public that all of the creatures in this world is actually they have their own rules. Okay, not only insects, but other animals, other plants, they also have their own rules towards the environment. Okay, so we must know that we must recognize the value of insects. Okay, but we cannot deny also the value of other animals. Okay, because they are actually coordinating, they are also collaborate, and also this group of animals they actually give the very sustained environment towards our ecosystem. So basically, I want to convey that we have to protect our habitat. We have to protect our forest. Okay, because I afraid that in the future days for our young generations, okay, because they are actually exposed towards gadget, the AI and so on. I afraid that all the young generation only know about forest in the AI, AI background, AI hallucinations, for example. So we need to protect all of that, because that is actually our creatures, our own world. Okay, so we have to promote also the public awareness, okay, towards from the young generations, what is actually the importance that we need to conserve not only insects but all other animals. Yeah.
Okay, nicely put, Dr. Noorhidayah. I think that nicely wraps up our discussion today. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Noorhidayah has kindly shared her expertise on the importance of the world of insects. Insects, without a doubt, are important creatures created by Allah SWT. In fact, if we were to look in the Holy Quran, we will see that there are a number of insects that are mentioned specifically by Allah SWT. For example, bees, ants, mosquitoes, grasshoppers, and also flies. Two of these insects, in fact, have their names enshrined as the names of surah or chapters in the Quran, namely An-Nahl or bees, and An-Naml, or which refer to ants. We have come to the end of our program for today, but before we end, I think it is best to reflect on what Allah SWT mentions in the Quran regarding the role of bees. In verses 68 and 69 of Surah An-Nahl, Allah SWT says to the effect that, "And your Lord inspired the bees. Make your homes in the mountains, the trees, and in what people construct. And feed from the flower of any fruit you please, and follow the ways your Lord has made easy for you. From their bellies comes forth liquid of varying colors, in which there is healing for people. Surely in this is a sign for those who reflect." What is mentioned in these verses of the Quran reflects the important role that insects play in ensuring the balance of the ecosystem. And this has been the focus of our discussion today with Dr. Noorhidayah. I would like to express my gratitude to our guests who have graced the program for the past half an hour. Thank you, Dr. Noorhidayah, for your important sharing on our topic, the present and future of insect biodiversity, in today's edition of Man and Nature. Inshallah, if we have another opportunity, we would like to invite you again.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying that it is our responsibility as Khalifah to ensure that the natural world, including the world of insects, is protected and conserved. Let us pray that all our efforts to conserve biodiversity, including the wonderful world of insects, will bring the necessary results. Hopefully, our discussion today has been informative and beneficial to all who are listening. Please join me again next week for another interesting discussion on biodiversity. For the last 30 minutes, you have been listening to Man and Nature. I am Shaikh Mamat Saifuddeen bin Shaikh Mamat Salleh, signing off until next week. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.